Another year, another squad patch, another match analysis video. The release of V2.9 and V2.10 was enough to bring me back, see if anything's really changed, have a couple matches. It's been a very long time since I've played, and this is one of the very first matches back for me. Now, I'm in Discord with my clanmate Krieger, and prior to any of this, I had decided I was just going to do a locked two-man squad. I have been doing some pub leading lately, and I'll try to get a pub match posted pretty soon, since I know that's the kind of content that's actually relevant to most of you. But at this point in time, I was a little bit sick of it, and I just wanted to get in there with just us and see what we could accomplish. As you can see, we are playing Narva AAS V3, so all of these flags were there immediately off game start, everybody knew where to go, and we are joining late. We are joining a game in progress. Now, there's a lot of things that we can conclude from looking at the map right now. The first thing is that Quarry is quite unsustainable. We appear to have captured it somehow. I don't really know what's going on before I join, but at this point in time, the helmet marks to the north and the helmet marks to the west suggest to me that they have a fob in that compound in the north and a fob somewhere west. I think it's highly unlikely that either of those groups are flanking from the other's position. If they were spawning to the north and they wanted to flank around the west, I have no doubt they would crest on those hills and start shooting into Quarry rather than going over that field. That's very uncommon. And similarly, if they were down south out of that compound, I really can't see anyone making it that far north unless they were assaulting a hab. I figure they would rather turtle up inside of Quarry, inside of those buildings, or on the hill somewhere shooting towards our fob. Of course, this is just a prediction, but it's just the common thing I see with people coming from either of those spawns. I really have my doubts that there is anything less than 2 spawns that are pressuring Quarry right now. Similarly, we look a little weak on the flag itself, and Quarry is one of those flags where once you just get a couple of people in there, it can be very hard for multiple people to push over the fields from the common fob locations. So at this point, I'm basically assuming that Quarry is going to start being lost. Whether that's going to be soon or it's going to take a while, that's up for debate. But at this point in time, just from looking at the map, I'm assuming there's a fob west, a fob north, and our fob is slowly going to get overrun, or at the very least, the flag is going to start being captured out from under us while we hold on to that fob. Another weird thing I'm noticing is the amount of people on shipping yard. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. It almost leads me to believe that either somebody made a poor choice off game start and went there instead of to Quarry, or we actually recaptured Quarry. Quarry was captured by the enemy, and that was previously a defense flag. I'll never know, but honestly, I more strongly suspect that people were just there for no reason than the flags moved that much back and forth that early in the game, especially with something that you'll see later on. Now, after taking a look at the map and kind of assessing what I think is going to happen, what I think is going on, my next step is to see where the trucks are. One is parked at that south fob and is probably stuck there. Another one is moving there from presumably Maine. I believe as you watch the clip, he's going to attempt to skirt around the contact on the south border, which is very risky because the south border is pretty well elevated. There's lots of hills, and there is presumably a fob to the west, and it's not going to work out. That logi is going to get shot out. The other logi is at Maine, which, of course, when I join a game in progress, is the best thing I can possibly see. So I'm going to create my squad, grab that logi, and then we're going to start working on this match.
Okay. Oh wait, no, you're right. I just forgot. I have to be next to a hab, that's why it's grayed out. Thank you.
Honestly, I would have no idea how to do that.
All you have to do is hold T, and then the little marker with the star that pops up on the left is when you click when you're looking at it, but can you actually do that? I'm just going to drop down some either artillery or an airstrike on them right here. I think they're right where that hab marker is. Oh no, there's another hab marker. Never mind. They're at that lower hab marker. Drop the mark there if you can. You gotta be looking at it.
Get into Quarry. I'm dead, dude.
Okay, I'm just saying when you get eyes on it.
So as predicted, things are deteriorating on defense. We're getting pushed off of the flag is beginning to be captured, we have confirmation there was a fob to the west, the logi's dead, and we are getting pushed into that hab. People are having a much harder time getting out of it. At this point, I have multiple ways that I can approach this. Either I can double fob shipping because it's about to become a defense point, or I can build another offensive fob for Quarry. And the way I see it, the only two places I could build right now are directly behind the two enemy fobs that I think exist. That'll accomplish both getting us a second spawn as another point of failure, and presumably giving us an easy takedown on one of their fobs. Now I decided not to double fob shipping, the deciding factor being that we still have a bit of time to work with Quarry here, and there are a lot of people there on shipping prematurely, so I'm not too worried about it instantly getting captured afterwards. And when it comes to where I want to build my Quarry fob, the deciding factor is the fact that Command is currently attempting to use assets on that south fob. I'd rather build on the north because it's a little bit easier to get to, it's a little bit safer. We're not entirely sure where the fob is there, so I can spend a little time looking potentially, or maybe see it as I coast in and get confirmation that it is there. And in the end of the day, they might just delete that west one if somebody can actually get eyes on it, which is a little bit doubtful, but still, it is a possibility. Unfortunately, it took me quite a while to get down there. I ended up having to go pretty wide because that APC, the friendly APC in the tracks to our east, called out another APC. We were right there next to him. We had to hightail it around the north, and ultimately we ended up quite delayed. Fortunately, we do have a fob on our defense, we do have people on our defense, so even though it's not what I would consider to be a sustainable defense with how clustered everybody is and how there's only one fob, I hopefully have a little bit of time to work Quarry before that becomes an issue. I have 1800 build in my truck, I can build all three of the fobs I was initially talking about. I just have to decide what order I want to build them in, and, what order of priority I should give each fob, given that I might be destroyed halfway through making them.
Bless you, good soul. Bless you.
You good? Soundbug? Soundbug.
Alright,
It's
4
gotta be a
minutes.
soundbug, right?
And 9 minutes for UAV.
I guess. Fucking tripping me out, huh?
Same.
They really need to implement it where the timers don't reset.
I have a hab going up west of Quarry. We need a squad to dedicate themselves to
Also-
defending shipping, but other people can spawn here when it's up.
Squad 6 and 8, you guys gotta unlock your squad. Thank you, 8.
Have that right now. That could be good. No, no other place.
Okay, hop back in once it's fully built. So my hope is that one of two things happen. Either people are able to spawn here and then push a hab that may or may not exist to the east, which you're actually going to see me mark on the map just so that somebody does push it to confirm it. I lie like this with icons all the time, it's nothing personal. Or they're going to spawn in, see there's nothing there, and then be able to contest cap range while the enemy's western fob is a bit busy trying to take care of our eastern fob, and the fight kind of conglomerates between those two fobs, and cap range isn't necessarily prioritized as much. Now, the decision for what fob to build next is a bit more challenging. We could very easily take Quarry if we take out that western fob now, especially with our northern one there. It is an absolutely easy capture if I build just to the west of it, and that is what's driving my decisions right now. But I'm also neglecting to really view the defense, because like I said, it's not sustainable, and I highly recommend you take that mindset in all of the time whenever you see a defense like that, because so many people will see there's a fob there, there's people there, it's good. But if the fob is centralized and the people are all clustered on it, it will fail. It's just a matter of when. But of course, that's not all bad. It might be a matter of time, but who knows, it could be enough time for us to take the offense. I can only be in one place at once, I can't be fixing both issues at the same time, so I have to prioritize. Do I want to try to secure a better defense, or do I want to try to take the offense before the defense has time to fail? And in this instance, just because of my current location, I'm going for the latter option. And as I said earlier, don't forget, this is just what I'm prioritizing. My next step, and my idea that I have in my mind now, is to double fob the defense after. Another thing you're going to see on the map right now is our Quarry fob finally get proxied, and this is a very, very common theme with my gameplay. This happens a lot. I create spawns or flanks that start to push on enemy spawns at the same time as our spawn goes down. A typical fob trade. The thing is, I will accept this 9 times out of 10, because 9 times out of 10, I am pushing out way more fobs than the enemy, and a straight trade is equal tickets, but in exchange, I will usually have a spawn advantage. Now that's not exactly what's going on here. The people to the north didn't appear to find any spawns up there, and we aren't taking out the one to the west, but we are building in prime position too. And if there isn't a spawn to the north, then our blueberry should be able to just push directly into cap and contest that pretty easily, since the enemy is almost definitely very preoccupied with our fob to the south. Now, as long as people actually spawn on the fob that we're going to create, which obviously is the big if whenever you're doing this kind of two-man logistics thing, but if people spawn down there, it's an easy capture on that west fob, easy to pinch, and hopefully whatever happened to the north, whatever reason enemies were there, isn't going to be that big of a problem. I still have my doubts that they actually flanked all the way around. They could have been closer to cap range and have worked off the south enemy fob and gotten marked too far north. Or it could be something different. It is something different. We're about to find that out now. You'll see pretty soon. But in the end of the day, I think we're now in a very favorable position on quarry. And so now I have to turn my attention to the defense, which is starting to get pushed from the north. There is a fob marked. We don't know if it's accurate or if it's predicted. Nobody's actually said anything about it in command chat. But either way, I'm now working on double fobbing the defense with the marker and the move mark that I have up there to the north. As you've seen from the previous two fobs I've built, I like to pinch enemy fobs. I could build to the south or to the east of our defense and stretch a fob in, and it would be much safer, presumably. Maybe not with that vehicle mark, but in most circumstances it would be safer. The reason I'm going to build in the same area as the enemy fob is so that we can pinch it from two different angles. In the event that our defense failed and our fob died there, I do not just want two equidistant fobs, one belonging to the enemy and one belonging to us, fighting for control over the center. That's a coin toss. That's anyone's game. If I can get a nice flank going on their fob, we can put the pressure on that and work on spawn wiping and then completely securing. Think I can jump this wall? I think I can jump this wall. I mean...
Oh, they have a tow right on the hill next to it.
Squad 40, copy your orders.
Right here.
You can mark it. Thank you.
Yep.
Squad 40, copy your orders.
Yeah, they have infantry spawning on that building.
Any others?
One down. I'm not sure, he pulled out his pistol.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your typical marksman gameplay. He's incredibly far from anyone else on his team. He doesn't call us out to the rest of his team because this fob never gets found. And of course, he misses every single shot, switches to his sidearm, and gets absolutely beamed by two people he had every advantage on.
Or neutral.
Good shit, guys. Although it is on course for a double nuke unless you stall shipping. I think I've said this and used the same example in a couple of match analysis videos, but just please let this be the ultimate final reason why. One fob and people clustered on it always equals lost objective. It's not even a question. Like I said, it was just a matter of win. And this is the win right now. As you can hear, we just neutralized the offense, but we are just a sliver too late because the enemy started neutralizing our defense just a second before. Now, in a perfect world, 15 minutes ago, I would have just said that on command chat. People would have been like, oh shit, and then they would have spread out, and then we wouldn't have had an issue. They would have built a second defensive fob. But take it from somebody who's tried for years, it just doesn't work that way. You just have to deal with the fact that you know that it's not going to work. And in this situation, I didn't deal with that quite right. As I said earlier, I had to make a prediction. It was only a matter of time before it fell, but could we take the offense first? And as you can see, we are just a sliver too late. I was not actually watching the map at the time because of that little marksman endeavor, that little fight, and so I wasn't 100% sure at this point in time that we actually were on course for a double neutral, and there is the slimmest of chance that our teammates can get back into cap range and halt it for just long enough, but who knows whether that's actually going to happen. At the very least, though, we have secured the double neutral, so the flags aren't going to be moving. We're not going to be moving backwards. We still managed to get our offense into a much better position, and they were able to re-neutralize. So we have time, hopefully, to deal with this situation. Similarly, our fob to the south of quarry worked very well, and we took out that spawn. So we should have an advantage on quarry, and at the very least, I just built a new spawn for them to work on the stealth cap for our existing flag. That's also in a very good position to flank wherever their fob is, if it's where we think it is and where it was marked. So we should have an advantage in both sections of this double newt.
My mic does work, right?
Yep. Oh, hi. Do you hear a radio?
Striker on
Top
quarry.
No.
I hit stakes.
Is
We can
there
hop out
water,
and proxy
maybe?
this anyway. Just take this down a layer while we're here. Squad 6 is on top of a hab in the middle of the street. I don't know. I don't know why either.
Like, we're not Americans.
They have random emplacements, so they probably built enough shit that they don't have enough to replace it, would be my guess. So just take it down all the way and leave. I don't want to spend time radio hunting.
I'll just hear the rally radio.
Yeah. Armor. Coming in. I'm moving the truck. It's west. It's coming down the road, I think.
Okay, I'll just try to finish this.
I gotta move it now. We're already in line of sight. Oh, I'm on stakes.
Yep. Good luck. I'll try to
What's
finish
happening on quarry? BTR's en route.
Oh, I'm gonna die.
Enemies are getting back in on
Unless
the
that's
south
over
side.
top. Oh, I cut line of sight. He's gonna
Where do
chase
you
me
need
though.
this? At quarry or shipping?
Well, South Quarry, there's a striker down there too, though.
Hot Pursuit 2.
16 seconds until
No, they're still here. Watch them, man.
UAV. Who took the other BTR?
Fuck, Timmy killed me. He dismounted, dude.
Well, they can save their useless.
What the fuck?
Can you mark the fob and the vehicle for team?
UAV's up.
Marking a fob north of our shipping yard fob. It is accurate. It's in the middle of the goddamn street. It's command assetable pretty
Direction
easily.
of the vehicle, east or west. West or west.
I'll meet you at main. Don't give up yet, though.
I'm gonna scout, see where their
25.
habs at.
It's Paraguay Bell.
UAV's up.
Mortar should be coming down on top of you. So we have a mortar squad and they start pounding that mark, which is great. That fob should be dealt with, and now it's time to look at the map again. So as you could probably see, quarry is going great. It doesn't appear that anything's pushed them besides maybe a Vic. I don't really think that they're going to try to be smart and stealth cap with a dismount from a Vic or anything. Usually teams aren't that coordinated, so we have that held pretty well. Now, shipping yard, on the other hand, is not great. Not great at all. We managed to get people spawning there and pushing east and attempting to contest the enemy spawn north of shipping yard. It was just a fight that was almost immediately lost. We had like 9 people there a second ago. Now I'm opening the map and there's almost nobody and it's proxied. Now, when it was still active, my hope was to go back to main, grab some supply, and go to the south of shipping yard and build something there so that we could move in somewhat sneakily while there was a lot of action contested to the north of cap range as well as on the enemy spawn itself. And hopefully in doing so, we could work towards a stealth cap, possibly with Krieger and I actually being a part of the stealth cap since we now had a pretty good spawn network up for both objectives. We might be more useful as 2 people who know how to stealth on foot and hopefully get a 3rd blueberry with us rather than going off and building yet another spawn somewhere that would be, less useful than the ones we've already built. But there is a big issue, and that is our ticket count, which has slipped my mind because I have no idea how we dropped this quickly. Part of it is me feeling like we joined at the beginning of the match because things hadn't fully developed yet and not realizing that we were already in a match in progress and there were already some tickets lost. And then a part of it is just a monumental rate of ticket loss that I have not been paying attention to. And I'm starting to realize that this double newt that we got wasn't a buffer, an amount of time to let us resolve or work on something. This was honestly a death sentence because unless we resolved it very quickly, we were going to run out of tickets. In hindsight, this is something that you notice when you actually go back to the beginning of that double neutral. You can see how low we are on tickets and how the fact that we might not actually be able to resolve it in time is a pretty big issue. But at the time in the game, I didn't notice this at all, and this totally blindsided me when I noticed it. 16 tickets, watch Vics, watch give-ups. We just lost 15 in under a minute. Make that 17 in under a minute.
Sounds like they got him before he built it.
I don't know
They're
how we
halfway
lose
through
this
building, I don't see
fast.
it.
Gina, we gonna fucking
Cap, don't leave.
What the fuck was that?
Oh, that real weird
Team's been on a roll streak.
We lost because of you, crazy cow. You should have picked me up.
About to go.
Stay with us.
Yeah, crazy cow.
And so, not only did I not realize how close we were to losing until I was actually on that logi ride back, but we lost by an absolutely monumental amount. Now to recap, assuming that we were the first ones to capture the midpoint, which is what I think happened, and then they recaptured it from us, that puts them at plus 50 for objectives. You can also see that there is a difference of exactly 100 between our deaths, so that is 150 tickets off of objectives and flag captures. Or sorry, objectives and KD. That still leaves 79 tickets for radios and vehicles, and I believe we destroyed one radio on quarry, lost one radio on quarry, and then we lost one radio on shipping. Possibly the other one that I built for shipping. So at most 20 of that is radios, and I believe probably 10 if we're being realistic. But holy shit. We still would have lost by over 100 tickets if we resolved our double neutral and then capped the next flag, assuming that things went similarly for radios, KD, and vehicles, which of course once you start pushing the momentum could change, but still. That was a massive loss, and it really came out of nowhere for me. I thought we actually had a decent chance of turning that game around. So here's the real question. Why did I show it? I don't really think I necessarily made any mistakes, besides maybe the priority for the double fobbing the defense versus the other offensive fob, but then of course that could have also delayed our neutralizing of quarry, and we could have ended up in the same situation. But ultimately I'm pretty happy with the fobs I built, the order I built them in, and my predictions of the game and of the match as a whole. Traditionally, I would think that if I was going to post a loss, I would have some kind of lesson to be learned or some kind of big obvious mistakes that could be talked about, but in this situation, I don't really think that's too much the case. It's just a really big uphill battle that we couldn't quite overcome. But I think the real reason that I wanted to show this match is because specifically of the new update, which I haven't mentioned since the intro. But obviously the 400 meter exclusion radius is now in, and you could see that in action during this match, and the new fob overrun mechanics are also in and can be seen in this match. And ultimately, I kind of want to do an opinion piece on it, but the TLDR of that entire opinion piece is it doesn't really change anything. And I think this is the perfect match to show that, because from the moment it started, I was back to my usual strategies, trying to mitigate the damage being done. We almost succeeded. We almost got a full flag capture instead of that double neutral. We started pushing things in favor for us on, at the very least, quarry. And although it didn't quite work as well on our defense flag shipping yard, we at least gave our guys more of a fighting chance than they had when it was one fob that was proxied. In the end of the day, my actions were still the actions I will be taking. You know, I built as many fobs as possible in the ideal positions to give my guys the ideal spawn advantages to attempt to get flag captures to mitigate anything that they might be losing in individual KD. And this update doesn't change that. 400 meter exclusion, it's a little inconvenient. It bumps you a little bit further out than you'd like, and it can kind of prevent you from putting a ton of pressure down on a flag, especially if you already have a centralized fob that you didn't build. But the only thing that it really changes for my gameplay purposes is now if I am in a position where I can triple defensive fob a defense point, I will almost always choose to do a ring around the flag rather than one internal fob with two external fobs on the radius with halves potentially stretched closer in. This is something that I would have been on the fence about before, but now I definitely believe in the 3-ring method simply because of the 400 meter change. But overall, that's pretty minor, if we're being honest. And the proxy changes, they may have actually played a role during this freeze frame here when you can see our fob is proxied. I built it really close to their fob, and it's possible that we were also proxying their fob all the way across the road if both teams had 8 people at some point within 80 meters. The difference is when we lost the fight and they survived, they were then able to go take out our fob. So who knows? That's just a theory, honestly. I haven't been playing around with these changes too much, and I wasn't there, so I can't say much. But it is possible that that situation there resolved itself to a firefight because of the proxy changes. And it's possible that I would have had more of an advantage if I built my fob a little bit further west, and then in turn gave my guys the ability to continue spawning during that fight. But I definitely need more gameplay to be able to tell, and in the end of the day, all it's going to do for me is maybe judge 80 meters to an enemy fob and build just outside of it rather than trying to build within 40 meters. The difference is still going to be fairly minor. It's going to be more of a issue of nuanced approach to a strategy rather than making a strategy unviable. And if I do an opinion piece, I will talk about, how I think it could be changed to be more practical or whatever. I honestly don't know if I have the energy for that, since in the end of the day, it's not going to matter with the current way that OWI is implementing updates and the time scale and the amount of PR bullshit that they have to go through in order to actually make any changes in favor of a more tactical experience. But in the end of the day, I don't think it has too much of an effect on gameplay, and I won't be changing my strategies drastically as a result of this update, and that is ultimately the reason why I posted this game. Anyway, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, any opinions, any thoughts. I'll probably be down there discussing this for a bit, and have a nice rest of your day. Hopefully I'll be playing some more squad and get another match analysis soon, but I'm not entirely sure, so don't hold your breath.